I was sitting beside our boss, of course, Lee Clayton, and what do you know? He's got his phone and he's following the events at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah, I was watching it.
I did not think we'd be looking at a 5-0 scoreline with Lampard there nowadays.
Yes and no. I mean, we spoke about Tottenham yesterday and this mixed bag of performances they get. They go and beat someone like Leeds, they go and lose to Middlesbrough. They go and beat Man City, they go and lose to Burnley.
Yeah.
And so I said yesterday, well, by the law of probability, if you're an actuary, you'll work out that Tottenham will win the next game against Everton. And in the first 15 minutes, you saw no evidence of that. But Everton were so poor that I'm surprised it wasn't 10. Because they were really just a disjointed, dysfunctional team of misfits that didn't seem to have any legs whatsoever or any desire to overcome the obstacle that was in front of them, which wasn't a particularly great Tottenham Hotspur. It was just a Tottenham Hotspur that were margins better than them. And you look at that and you go, well, Frank's got a job. There's some interesting dynamics afterwards. The interview that Conte gave was a very different interview about the players and I mentality, and about how he wants to bounce back, because he's identified the trend already. He's more focused on Man United now. We've done Everton. We now need to cement that with a result against Manchester United. And then you listened to Frank and his attitude and his outlook towards the players he's got there. And clearly, he's got a job on his hands. He's got a job on his hands.
The thing is, I was on the show, on the Friday night show a couple of months ago when he first got the job, and I said it was a risk. You know, I like Frank Lampard.
I did too.
But I felt like it was a risk, and under what pedigree was he getting this job?
And I think that's a
good
good shout.
Derby and stuff like that. And when Pereira was going for the job, all the Everton fans were, graffitiing, saying they didn't want him.
Yeah.
And he's won things. I mean, yes, regardless of what league it's been in China and stuff like that, he's still won things. And I think people often go by people's reputation as players in this day and age, and it's different. Managing is an art. I've always said this, and I think players are jumping too quickly now from retiring to management, and I just think it was a bit of a risk. But I was thinking the same as Simon. You know, you're watching that game last night, and you're trying to not. I don't want to give Tottenham no credit, but Everton were very poor. But then I would take that 5-0. You know, I'm a Man United fan, so I'd take that. You can't win if you win a game 5-0 and everyone says, well, Everton were poor. You have to give Tottenham a little bit of credit.
Of course, sure.
For me, it's a little bit too much about Antonio Conte at Tottenham.
Yep.
I think it's become the Antonio Conte show. The fans were screaming his name on the sidelines yesterday, but for me, you know, the manager in an interview the other week says, oh, well, you know, we don't want to, the players they're the best players I've ever had.
Yeah.
And then the next week he's saying he wants to leave. And then everyone's saying, oh, well, you know, Antonio Conte's not animated on the sideline, he wants to go. And I genuinely believe, until he eventually leaves, everyone's going to be saying, every time they lose a game, Antonio Conte is going to go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Literally all the time.
We spoke about this, and I spoke to Daniel offline about it, and we spoke about the nature of the reaction that he gave, and I gave a reaction to it before I spoke to Daniel and talked about a temperamental Italian getting a little bit involved with
Daniel Levy.
The here and now, about a result, and I felt it was a call to action. I felt it was basically, under no circumstances, in no parallel universe, does Antonio Conte not think he's good enough. Right? So it was a ridiculous set of analogies that he gave about maybe I'm not good enough. It was an emotional reaction. It went further. Sam Matterface, one of our guys, got right into the ribs of him and really gave him some questions that he chose to be involved in. And there was never in my mind, and Jim gets cross with me, but there's never in my mind, there was a media narrative that Conte is a divisive character, that he stays at clubs for a period of time, spends lots of money, and will fall out with Daniel Levy. I didn't have that narrative, but Conte was playing all ends against the middle.
So what do you think as a player then? So the players go into training the next day and your manager's saying that. How does a player react to that?
It was mixed messages,
within
Simon,
reason,
wasn't it?
Leanne, you can't really overly concern yourself with what players think. You need to make sure the players do their jobs first before you worry about what they're thinking, because there's too much of that in football, too much prostitution and compromising yourself for the benefit of players. And when I say prostitution, I mean prostituting your beliefs in terms of telling players what you think they want to hear rather than what they bloody well need to hear.
Because they should know it's not good enough. But for me, when a manager's coming out in that emotional way, they should. But when a manager's coming out in an emotional way like that, I don't think it's good. Well, it becomes the Antonio Conte show.
Yeah, but it is the Antonio Conte show because he's the biggest name in the room. It was the Jose Mourinho show. It is the Jurgen Klopp show. I know we've got Mohamed Salah scoring all the goals, but when you talk about Liverpool and the evolution of Manchester City into being the best playing side in world football, you talk about Pep Guardiola. Yeah. You talk about Klopp. That's why this idea that United won't pay 20 million quid to get Pochettino out of PSG is for the birds.
Yeah.
You buy £100 million footballers, but you won't give the guy that is going to orchestrate them a compensation fee for the club that's currently holding his registration.
Are Everton too big in some people's eyes to go down?
No, I don't think so. I think obviously in more recent years, West Ham, Leeds, top teams have gone down. So I don't personally think they will go down. Obviously, it's not good they go and get beat 5-0 when you're in the position they're in.
What Jim's saying
because I think the other teams are worse than them.
I agree with you on that.
Burnley, Norwich and Watford.
But what Jim's asking you is that there's a perception in people's mind, and I'm guilty of this, that because Everton have this stature of a big football club, everyone's automatically excluding them from the relegation. I'm guilty of it too. We're thinking of Mashiri's hundreds of millions that he spent. We're talking about the big names that have gone in there, arguable big names that are sitting in that dressing room, and all of us are giving them a pass.
Yeah, it's true actually, because I don't think they can go down. Maybe it is because the magnitude
You don't think
of the
they
club.
can go down?
No,
but they could easily go down.
Ask any Everton fans. I think they're worried this morning.
But I think Leanne's right. What they'd get out of jail card is that the three sides that are beneath them are worse. The only part of that I think changes, and I just saw Delia earlier on, and I won't be too mean about Norwich.
Oh yeah,
the only part of that changes
in the building, isn't she?
Is that Burnley have got just a little bit about them, and Sean Dyche has got a lot about him. So he's the one that I factor into the equation that might drag Burnley out of it. And if they do drag Burnley out of it, who's getting dragged in? I've got a feeling Brentford.
But Simon, before that 5-0 scoreline last night, did you think Everton were too big to go down?
Well, I've been saying, and we sat here with Danny yesterday and saying, Everton's not going to go down. Leeds are not going to go down, because in your mind's eye, irrespective of Leeds being out of the Premier League for 16 years, you look at Leeds and you think they're back in the Premier League now, they're back in the big time, they've got a very wealthy owner, they've got American guys in behind it, they're going to be fine. Right? And you think Everton, the same thing, they're going to be fine. If they keep on churning out anything vaguely resembling that, they are not going to be fine. They're going to get relegated.
You just mentioned Burnley there. I mean, Sean Dyche has done an unbelievable job, hasn't he? With minimal budget, with minimal money.
It's getting closer each year, Leanne.
It is.
He's getting closer each year.
Leanne, you mentioned it. Everton fans, and it's a good shout of yours. Let's put it out there. Let's take the opportunity to put it out there. Everton down there scrapping for their lives. Lampard says we need some kind of a jolt. We've got to get out of this situation.
He accused them of downing tools, didn't he?
Yeah.
He accused them of downing tools in the interview afterwards.
Exactly. It cannot all go well. So will you get out of that situation? Can you even imagine life in the Championship with this incredible new stadium looming in the background? Evertonians, give us a call on that. It doesn't look good. Is it going to happen? 03717 223344 81089.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.